The Shroud of Turin is one of the most fascinating and controversial artifacts in the world. It is a linen cloth that bears the image of a crucified man. Some believe that the shroud is the actual burial cloth of Jesus Christ, while others believe that it is a medieval forgery. The shroud has been the subject of intense scientific study for centuries, but its origins and authenticity remain a mystery. The first documented sighting of the Shroud of Turin was in 1357 in Lirey, France. It was owned by a knight named Geoffrey de Charny, who claimed that he had inherited it from his grandfather. The shroud quickly gained a reputation as a miraculous object, and pilgrims came from all over Europe to see it. In 1453, the shroud was moved to Turin, Italy, where it has remained ever since. It is currently housed in the Turin Cathedral. Over the centuries, the shroud has been damaged in several fires, but it has been repaired and restored each time. The Shroud of Turin is a 436-meter long and 1.11-meter wide linen cloth. It is a single piece of cloth, and there is no evidence of any sewing or stitching. The image on the shroud is a front and back view of a crucified man. The image is faint and difficult to see with the naked eye, but it becomes more visible when photographed or viewed in ultraviolet light. The image is also three-dimensional, meaning that it has depth and perspective. The Shroud of Turin has been subjected to numerous scientific studies over the years. In 1988, a team of scientists from the United States, Italy, and Switzerland conducted a series of tests on the shroud. The scientists concluded that the image on the shroud was not created by any known artistic technique. The scientists also found that the blood on the shroud was human blood, and that it was type AB, which is the most common blood type. The scientists also found that the blood had been coagulated, which means that it had come from a living person. There are a number of arguments in favor of the authenticity of the Shroud of Turin. One of the most compelling arguments is the fact that the image on the shroud is three-dimensional. This is not something that could have been created using any known medieval techniques. Another argument in favor of the shroud's authenticity is the fact that the blood on the shroud is human blood and that it is type AB. This is the same blood type as Jesus Christ is believed to have had. Finally, the shroud is also said to bear the marks of crucifixion, such as nail wounds in the hands and feet, and a spear wound in the side. These marks are consistent with the biblical accounts of Jesus' crucifixion. There are also a number of arguments against the authenticity of the Shroud of Turin. One of the main arguments is that the shroud has been damaged in several fires over the centuries. This damage could have altered the image on the shroud. Another argument against the shroud's authenticity is that it contains pollen from plants that are not native to the Middle East. This suggests that the shroud may have been created in Europe rather than in the Middle East. Finally, some scientists believe that the image on the shroud is a medieval forgery. They argue that the image could have been created using a technique called contact printing. The mystery of the Shroud of Turin remains unsolved. There is evidence both for and against its authenticity. Ultimately, it is up to each individual to decide whether or not they believe that the shroud is the burial cloth of Jesus Christ. Thank you for watching this video on the mystery of the Shroud of Turin. I hope that you have found it informative and thought-provoking. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And please be sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos on unsolved mysteries and other fascinating topics.